21, and this is episode 4 of Part of My Journey. Today I'm going to be talking to, let me just mute this, Inchhigh73 and Senoroteb. We're just going to add them into the stream. There's Inchhigh and there's Senoroteb. So, how you doing, Karen?
Yeah, very well, thank you, Criztoz. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to chatting to you two today. It's going to be hopefully an interesting show. And then we've got Senoroteb, Oteb from Florida.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How's the weather?
The weather is quite warm today. I think the high in Tampa is around 94, 95. You know, high humidity, probably around 80%.
Yeah.
Typical. Very warm, very warm. Perfect. You know, if you're looking to catch a tan, it's perfect. Very warm, very warm.
There's a bit of echo, and I don't know if that's one of you's on.
I have no speakers on. I'm just all through the headphones.
What I can do is just bear me a second. Let me try and put you on echo cancellation. That's on fine. And yeah, okay. That should be okay.
Maybe. On my Criztoz.
I think it's mine actually. Sorry, my fault. It's my fault. I've got it right. Right. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about various things, but let's start a little bit with some background about you guys. So Karen, Inchhigh, do you want to tell us a little bit about your DJing? You know, how you got into music, how long you've been into music, what sort of styles you like, things like that for the moment.
Sure. Probably. I've been into music as long as I can remember, to be honest. There's not a time in my life where I didn't listen to music. So that it's always been part of my life journey. In terms of buying records, well, you know, I suppose like all of us, I bought records with my pocket money from Woolworths or Our Price, or even Boots, I think, were selling records at the time. So, yeah, it's been part of my life journey from about 8 years old, I would say. I went through various phases. Obviously, you know, the pop and the charts, that's what I would buy. I remember my first single was Golden Brown by the Stranglers.
Oh,
I'm 45, you'll be pleased to hear.
I've got that as well. Such a good track. Such a good track.
It's such a grown track for such a young girl. But yeah.
Omar did a cover of that, didn't he, I think?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, he's done a cover, I think.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then I remember my first album, which I actually got for Christmas, was Adam and the Ants, Prince Charming. So I think that was probably, you know, yeah, that is classic material. It's just part of that. So from there, that sort of kicked me off, really. So I went through the pop thing, and then I went into this this phase of psychobilly. I don't know if you know what psychobilly is.
Yeah, I think I know vaguely what it is, yeah.
So I sort of got into that for a couple of years, really sort of alternative indie type guitar-y rockabilly stuff, which I loved. And then I discovered hip hop, and then that was it for me.
So what was it about hip hop that suddenly changed? And what sort of year are we talking about?
It was about 86, 87. DJ Cheese and Word of Mouth was the single that was the artist that I remember, and early Mantronics. It was just so different, and it just captured me. I can't really explain any more than that. It was just, once I heard it, I was hooked. And
you haven't looked back since. You still like your hip hop now, don't you?
I still love my hip hop. To be fair, I don't play it as much as I did, because through my teenage years, you know, I was going to house parties and things like that. And at that time, it was like the rave scene as well. So there was these big influences for me with house music and acid, and yeah, just lots of different music. I've been really influenced by many genres. We were listening to dancehall and reggae at those jams. You know, I mean, in the 80s, so many different genres were played at one dance, weren't they? It wasn't just like you went to hip hop. They played ragga, they played a bit of house. So yeah, you got influenced by all those different things. So yeah, that's that's basically me.
And do you find that reflects in your sort of DJ sets now?
Yeah, absolutely. I always do my hashtag all genres, because I feel like I'm like that. I like UK hip hop is my first love, but I barely play it anymore. I play all different genres, like 80s soul I love, boogie I love, house music I love. So yeah, definitely reflects in my musical choices that I broadcast through Twitch and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and with Twitch you can play whatever you want, which is the beauty of it. You know, you're not trying to entertain a dance floor or trying to please a club or a bar owner or anything like that. You know, you're just playing what you want, and you know, people are hopefully tuning in and listening and enjoying it. You know, and that's the beauty of it. But you didn't you play an old school hip hop set? Was it a Wax Nerds Throwdown or something a little while ago?
Yeah, was that was a UK hip hop set I done? Yeah. I mean, honestly, that stuff excites me. Like, even just talking about it, I kind of get goosebumps. It's really weird. Yeah, I mean, all music excites me, but that genre particularly is like that. That's it for me.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of UK hip hop. I'm friends with Evil Ed. Obviously, he lives quite close to me, and you know, we've put on a few stuff, and you know, getting the UK artists, you know, in front of you, and a live hip hop show, there's just nothing quite like it, really. You know?
I agree. The energy and the passion and everything else is just unreal.
And it's amazing that, you know, one or two MCs and a DJ can create so much power in music, you know, that normally you'd need a full band. Right, I'm going to bring Beto in. Beto, you've been telling us how hot it is in Florida where you are, and I think in the UK we're probably all quite jealous because it's just hitting spring here and it's just starting to warm up. I think it was about 14 maybe today.
But one thing to be clear about, it really messes it. Like, okay, example, I'm originally from Oklahoma, middle of the United States, where we experience 4 seasons. Here there are no 4 seasons. You have summer, then a little bit of cold, and then summer.
Right.
So, you know, I don't see leaves fall off the trees anymore. You know, like I'm a big fan of fall. Nothing's better than an October sunset to me. I mean, it is. I just love it. I just love all the colors that come with fall, and we don't have that, you know, because I live in Tampa, you know, and it's considered South Florida. So my grass stays green all the time. I've been at the beach on Christmas Day, and it's like 92 degrees. So
yeah,
but yeah, sorry.
I think I've done that once when we were living in South Africa. We went to the beach on Christmas Day, and it was very, very different because here it's freezing. Sometimes you get snow here on Christmas Day, but right. Do you want to give us a little bit about your background in music? I know it's been a long journey, and you know, you've been into music for a long time. Do you want to tell us how you started into the music scene?
Well, to be clear, it's kind of the same as Inchhigh. You know, I really didn't have a time era where I came in. You know, my father was a fan of music in general, and I remember growing up, you know, he'd play like anything from Al Green to Eric Clapton, you know, and James Brown, and you know, he would play so much key things that were such staples within inside of different genres of music. And then the older, and at the same time, I'm Chicano. I'm half Mexican, and my father was German, was full-blooded German. He's born in the United States, you know. And then my mother is she's born in the United States too, but my grandparents came from northern Mexico. So we're considered what they call rancheros, you know. So I'm the typical what people think of a typical Mexican, you know, cowboy boots, you know, cowboy hat,
Right.
you know. So, and at the same time, I grew up listening to that music as well. I grew up listening to Mexican music, and that came from my father, my blonde hair, blue-eyed father. He's the one that taught me about that because he just loved culture. He loved everything about culture. And so I started listening to music at a very young age. And when I really started noticing it was when I got into middle school. Because whenever I got into 6th grade is when middle school starts, in where I was at is when Dr. Dre, The Chronic came out. And
Okay.
I was hearing all them samples. I was just like, what is this? And just blown away, you know, and then hearing more from like NWA, DJ Quick out in California, and just hearing all the samples and samples and samples and samples. I was just really cool. I thought it was really cool. And at the same time, my father, he wasn't feeling it, you know, because obviously it was the Chronic, you know. But I had to I had to dub the tape from somebody, because like my parents wasn't gonna let me have it. It had a big old marijuana leaf on it. They wouldn't 13 years, they weren't gonna let me have that CD. And at the same time, look at the stuff on the background. It's all derogative, you know, there's nothing positive on there. So they wasn't gonna let me have it. So mine was a dub of a dub. But anyways, there would be key moments whenever he'd come in and hear some Ice Cube, and you know, and just hear certain elements of hip hop. And then but at the same time, to be clear, I wasn't trying to hear some of the things that my dad was trying to play for me. I really wasn't receiving Eric Clapton at that moment, like he wanted me to. Because I was like, man, this ain't relevant. Dre ain't doing this. Snoop ain't doing this, you know, so it wasn't relevant to me, to be honest. And then, you know, I just continued to be a fan of hip hop. You know, I stayed glued to MTV Raps and Rap City. And, you know, and at the same time, I was really impressed by the East Coast, like how New York held it down was just, and, you know, was just bananas to me. One of my top 5 favorite rappers is Redman, you know, and the whole LOD movement was just mind blowing to me. I'm going to be clear with y'all. When I was like 16 years old, one time I snuck out of the house at night with some friends to go hang out with some girls, right? And my friends that I was hanging out with, they was listening to Redman, There Is a Dark Side, and I was like, man, this album is just retarded, man, just bananas. And then ever since that day, bro, like I know that album like backwards, forwards, sideways, byways. Like that album is just so cold, man. And then after that, I just adventured off, you know, before that to Doxanay, Muddy Waters, and now I'm on Keith Murray. Now I'm digging more into, you know, El Nino, Eric Sermon, the whole movement there. And then Wu-Tang at the same time. And at the same time, this is in Oklahoma, man, middle of the country, Oklahoma. Wu-Tang was very, very strong, very, very influential in Oklahoma. And I used to listen to Wu-Tang a lot. We used to listen to Lost Boys. And then when I got into high school, I started meeting like the skaters, or what they were labeled as. And they were listening to things like Smith and Wesson. They was listening, you know, they was listening to like Black Moon. I was like, oh man, this is even doper, man. Like we're going even deeper. And then when I was in 10th grade is when they invited me out to a rave. They was like, hey, you want to go to this underground thing with us? You know, because I noticed these dudes, and just to be clear, at the time, this is like 96. So
10th grade is, you would have been how old? 10th grade.
In 10th grade, I was 16.
16, okay.
In 10th grade, I was 16. So this is 96. And at the time, the culture in the United States was the big baggy Jinko pants, you know, wearing the shell toes with the fat laces. Everybody had fat laces in the shell toes. Yeah. You know, wearing the Adidas jumpsuits. You know, everybody was wearing the Adidas jumpsuits or the Kangos. But anyways, so my friends took me to a rave, and I was like, I was blown away, man. Like it was, I'd never seen anything like it. You know, just the lights, the sound was just like loud and just kicking, and you know, and like everyone there was just having a good time. Wasn't nobody tripping, you know, because like I grew up in Southside Oklahoma City, and I grew up with so Oklahoma City at the time, whenever I was living there, was probably maybe about 70% Mexican, and about maybe 50% is illegal. So we had a lot of gang violence. So I grew up Southside, and I grew up all around it, you know. And so going to a rave and seeing something different was just mind blowing. It was mind blowing. And to be honest, I smoked weed. I was I was like, they was like, man, let's come over here to this room over here because they smoking weed over here. So I go in there, and then that's when I heard jungle, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But it was cool, because I think what I liked the most about it was all of the reggae and Jamaican elements that I was hearing. I was just like, man, this is crazy, and this is cool. And then ever since that, I started buying records in like 1997. My first record was a breakbeat record. It was actually a local artist, and he's actually on Twitch. He's a big he turned out to be a big breakbeat artist in the breakbeat world. His name is DJ Love. He runs Stellar Recordings. He's a big Twitch streamer. He comes and checks me out a couple times, man, and it's so much, man. That's like one of the most coolest things for me because he's the first dude I ever seen DJ. He was a dude when I walked in. He was a dude that was on the decks. So he was the first person I seen in the flesh, and at the same time, he's a cut and scratch DJ. And like my boy Cruz, like I put my boy Cruz on them because I was like, yo, dude, you got to see this dude perform. And like the thing that everyone that I take to my boy Love's pages, they're like, yo, he has no Serato mixer. He just has a basic mixer, no effects, and he's just, there's no lights, there's no glamour, man. He's just straight cutting and scratching and just going crazy. And I was like, that's my boy, bro. I was like, that's my dog, man. And so it was one of his records. I'm sorry, I don't remember the first what it was, but it was one of his records that I bought. And I was buying house, I was buying breakbeats. And then after that, so I at the same time I started meeting more of the jungle people in the jungle community and the drum and bass people who love drum and bass and some of the DJs. And then someone gave me Andy C 97 telepathy tape. And I was just blown away because in the United States, we would have jungle rooms, but we wouldn't, just like you were saying, Criztoz, like we wouldn't have MCs going crazy. Like on that mix, he had Skibbity, Shabba and Stevie Hyper D on it. That was mind blowing, bro. I was like, what is this? And like I had never seen or heard anything like that. And I was just floored, and I was like, man, this is it. So for about the next 5 to 6 years, I was a dedicated junglist. That's all I bought. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing. Maybe one other record a year, but I wouldn't buy anything else.
It's an amazing sort of British genre as well. It just sort of came out of the UK and then just seemed to take over the world for a few years. And it's still, there's still jungle's still big. And it's expanded into the different subgenres of rolling D&B and everything else, and liquid D&B. But it's such a British thing that came out of the 90s. The sort of what was going on over here.
But it's really helped me understand you guys as people at the same time, because like I have first off, as an individual, I love history. Still to this day, my favorite subject growing up was history. I still love history. I mean, I got history stuff on my wall. I carry history books with me to read whenever I go to lunch at work. So after, at the same time, man, I was trying to get to understand who is Goldie. Like, who is this dude? Who is Goldie, man? This dude's always going crazy. He's got gold in his mouth. Everybody respects him. Like they bow down to this dude. Who is Goldie? Who is Bookham? Like, who are all these people? So, whenever I graduated from high school, a friend of mine gave me the Metalheads documentary, VHS tape for graduating high school. And then that's when I started learning, because this was all pre-internet. I mean, we was 56K modem. There was no internet. And to be honest, there was only maybe like 4 to 5 really good jungle or places you could get jungle music in the United States. You had Breakbeat Science in New York. You had Forefront in Boston. You had Compound in San Francisco and Seattle. And then you had like Groove Tech that you could order from Groove Tech. But but yeah, but now, but anyway, so man, I got married. You know, I had a child in 2008. Got married. Moved to Florida around 2005. Left I left 11 crates of records with a friend of mine back home because at the time I just got Final Scratch and I was like, dude, I don't need this stuff no more. You know, because I had just you know, and at the same huh?
We all thought that, didn't we? Everyone thought
yeah. I don't agree with it now, but anyway, yeah. So I thought I wasn't going to need this stuff anymore, so I left it with a friend of mine. And actually, you know, he's someone who tunes in and listens like all the time, and he just got another set of decks, man. So I'm like, man, big ups! I can't wait for you to start playing them records. But yeah, and then so I moved to Florida. I brought my turntables, and then again at the same time I started trying to learn production. I started dabbling with like Ableton Live, trying to learn the Ableton Live, and done a pretty good job learning it. But in 2010, the United States hit a little bit of a recession, and it hit really bad here in Florida. And man, I lost my job. I went without a job for like 9 months down here. At the time, there was like a cap in Florida for how much you could get for unemployment, no matter what you made. So, and it was dirt. It was nothing. And so I sold my turntables, you know, so I could make some money. And whenever I got work, man, like I took a job for, I think it was like $5 less an hour than what I normally was making. I just took a job so I could get a job. And, man, you know, just life, man. Things started going bad with my ex-wife. We're divorced now. I've been divorced for like 5 years or so. Separated, I think, for like 7. And, so it was in 2018, man, I bought another set of turntables. And, you know, this whole time I still had like little controllers and stuff like that. Native instrument controller. But I just really wasn't going anywhere with it. Whenever I got divorced and got single here in Tampa, I tried to hit the house music scene here in Tampa because there's a really big tech house scene in Tampa. So I was like, man, I want to get into this because it goes pretty hard out here, you know, and at the same time, they show a lot of love. Like example, like right before COVID hit, Jimster was here. Right before COVID hit, Jimster was here. So, you know, but the problem there, I don't do drugs. So, and it's kind of a drug infested area. You know, I don't want to, you know, give names or whatever, but anyways, I just didn't fit in, man. And they were like, oh, you could come play at 7 o'clock in the morning at the after hours club. I'm like, man, that's when I wake up. But
yeah, that's not the best time to be playing.
No. So back in, like I said, 2018, I bought another set of turntables and then I started collecting again. I think in like 2014 is when I found out about Mr. Thing. And I was just like blown away. I was like, what?
Mr. Thing?
Yes. I found out about Mr. Thing.
I'm going to name drop in a minute, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I had heard his mix, and I think it was the Nerd is Born mix. And I was just blown away. And then I did research on him, and then seeing him play 45s, and then like Jazzy Jeff was starting to play. You know, a lot more people here in the States were I was seeing Surface play 45s, but at the same time, I was also putting myself more in the areas where I would catch people playing 45. I don't want to make it sound like no one was doing it because everybody was. I just wasn't in the areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's certainly. I mean, Mr. Thing's amazing. I mean, he now lives in Hastings, which is sort of just down the road from where I am, and he came to a couple of our 45s events that we were putting on in the place in Primrose. He's now got a shop in the bottom of a bookshop, and I was there a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, he's such a nice guy, so modest, and you know, he's amazing. You know, such a good DJ. Right, Karen, I'm going to come back to you. We're going to move on a little bit, if you're ready, if you're all right.
Yeah.
All right. Great to hear about both your stories. I mean, it's interesting how I think we're all sorts of the same age. You know, I think there's a few years between us here and there. But again, I think we've all sort of started along the same sort of lines, and certainly hip hop and jungle and, you know, reggae and moving into 45s. Right. Well, you know, before any show, I obviously sort of talk to my guests and sort of try and find out what people are happy to talk about, what they don't want to talk about, and you know, what areas they think would be important to sort of give a platform to. And one of the things, obviously, you I'm glad that you decided to go ahead with it, because you weren't sure at one point, but unfortunately you were the victim of some emotional domestic abuse, and obviously from what you've told me, it's not happening anymore. You've had some therapy, you've gone through it, and things have moved on, which is positive. But I think you were happy to sort of explain, firstly, roughly what it is, how it can affect anyone, and how you got through it, and how it made you feel, perhaps. If we perhaps start there. So we're not going to deal with specifics or names or anything like that, but how did it first start happening, or where do you want to start?
I think I just want to start first by saying that sometimes emotional abuse is not recognized as abusive because it's verbal. It can be quite subtle. It's often done behind closed doors. You don't see a bruise. The bruising is almost mental rather than, well, the bruising is mental. It's not physical. So I think when people think about emotional abuse, it's almost like maybe not thought of as quite as bad as physical abuse because there are no physical signs, if you like. So I just really want to put that out there, that emotional abuse is abuse. It absolutely is abuse, and it can affect you in so many ways, and it can actually affect you physically, like it did me, as well. It can manifest itself through the stress and how your body deals with stress. So that, I just want to put that out there, that emotional abuse is still an abuse of some kind.
Well, it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely all abuse, and like you say, it's almost hidden. It's hidden because you won't see it. Like with violence, it's behind closed doors most of the time. But like you say, you're not going to walk down the street and someone say, "Where'd you get that black eye?" Or "What's that bruising?" Oh, fell down the stairs. That the sort of cliche response. But and it's all mental, and like you say, it's all stress. And I think over the last year, and talking to a lot of people, mental health is equal with sort of physical health, definitely, especially as we get older. I think it definitely affects you. But so how did you sort of, you mentioned that you went through therapy, how did that go, and I assume that helped you?
I mean, to be honest, when I was kind of going through that experience in my life, at first I didn't recognize what was happening to me because I'd never experienced emotional abuse before. So I was really confused about the behaviors that I was being exposed to. So, because like I said, they can be subtle. And it was only after I started talking about it to my friends, because at some points I was thinking, I'm losing my sanity here. I don't really know what's going on, because I don't know if people know the term gaslighting, but gaslighting is something that I was really subject to, where you're almost made to feel like your reality starts getting questioned. So it was difficult because I actually did feel like I was losing my mind. So I started talking to my friends and I was like, this has happened, is this right? And they were like, no, that's absolutely not right. Or, just certain things that I kept being questioned about and like questioning my mentality. So by talking to my friends, first of all, I was able to, they were able to identify, actually, this is a form of narcissistic abuse and therefore emotional abuse. And it helped me identify kind of what I was experiencing. So that first step of speaking to my friends about it, because they maybe had experienced it or had read about it and just knew all about it, and I was absolutely clueless. I had no clue about what I was actually going through. So to have kind of like someone recognize it, because that was the other thing. I was questioning, am I overreacting? Is this just me being stupid? Is this me being oversensitive? Did I really forget? Or you just start to question your whole reality. So that whole affirmation from my friends that actually, yes, this is a thing and you shouldn't be going through it, and this is kind of like this is what it's called. It's narcissistic abuse. It's emotional abuse. So that was my first step in recognizing what was happening to me. And then at the same time I was going through that, remember I said about the fact that it's emotional, so it's all mental, but it started to manifest itself in my physical well-being. So I was constantly ill. I constantly felt like I had a cold or the flu. I was constantly tired, like to the point of exhaustion. And a lot of that was also to do with the fact that I wasn't sleeping, because I started getting nerve problems in my hands and my arms. And I absolutely feel that all of those problems, those physical problems, manifested themselves due to the stress that I was going through. So I had something, I was diagnosed with something called Cubital tunnel syndrome, which is, I don't know if you can see that scar, but anyway, I've had the operation now, and it's a nerve repair operation, if you like. So I had that done, but that was killer in that also kept me awake. So there was these two things that were kind of keeping me awake at night. And for anyone who suffers from like insomnia will know, you know, you can't do anything if you haven't had a good night's sleep. Like it's so difficult, even to just do basic day-to-day functional things is really, really difficult. So I really struggled to continue working. So I was signed off for 4 months, and then I started my therapy for the emotional abuse, and at the same time I was trying to rid myself of the abuser, because the other thing about these abusive personalities is that they are quite addictive, and he became stalkerish, if you like. He just became a bit of a stalker. So I was trying to get rid of him and go through my therapy and like just heal myself. So yeah, it was therapy. It was talking to people. I actually was really verbal and really open on social media, because for me personally, like some people were like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you saying that? And I was like, I need the support. I need the validation. Like, I need people to know what I'm going through, because it was part of my healing. So really just talking about it, verbalizing, being made to for people to understand what you're going through and to recognize it and validate that what you're feeling is correct. So yeah, I've done a lot of talking, a lot.
Well, I think I do remember seeing, you know, before I was sort of, you know, dealing with you quite a bit on the streams, but I think I remember seeing some stuff on social media and on your Instagram in particular, and that clearly for you helped, I would imagine, and clearly coming on today and opening up and talking does help. And I think that's one of the things. How long do you think it took from you in your head realizing that something may be wrong to you then actually talking to your friends? Because obviously you said you spoke to your friends and they said, well, actually, no, what's going on isn't right. You know, do you think, you know, was there a long gap between that? Did it take you a long time to sort of realize what was going on?
No, it was almost immediately. Like, you know, as a human being, if you're not treated correctly, like, for me, I did, you know, because you think, you know, your self-worth. Like, I'm a very confident person. And I almost knew immediately. So it was really weird how, I suppose, I let it go on so long. And it's because this type of person is very manipulative, very convincing, very subtle. It's so subtle. You almost, like I said, you don't realize it's happening sometimes, or you do, and then you question yourself. So I think I just let it go on. And it was probably when I started really taking steps to kind of break free, was about 4 or 5 months into that episode. And it took me another 4 or 5 months to get out.
Yeah, because it's quite tough to get out of the situation, isn't it? Because I don't know whether you were living together or not.
No, we absolutely weren't. But it became like an online stalking thing, and constant emails, constant phone calls. So you end up having to deal with all that side of things as well. You know, as a victim, you've already gone through so much, And then you can't move away from you. You're not being allowed to move away from someone that's been abusive to you. They just won't let you go. And it's just quite an awful situation.
And I guess it's quite difficult, especially if you're on social media, as we all are most of the time, and you're just waiting. You know, is there going to be another comment? Is there going to be another message? Am I going to get another email? And that just interrupts, because you're trying to get on with your life.
Yes.
And it's this constant interruptions and notification and constant stress and worry about, you know, what's going to come next. But I mean, how do you feel about it now? I think one of the things you said to me is that you were quite surprised that it could happen to you, or, you know, you didn't think it could happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of other people were surprised because, like I said, I consider myself a very strong woman. You know, I work in the city. I was brought up by my dad, so I've always been surrounded by men. So I kind of felt like I understood the male mentality, and just, yeah, my workplace is very male dominated, and I'm confident, and I've always been a confident person. So I'm very outspoken in some things. So I think a lot of people were surprised that it happened to me. But I think there's also the fact that I'm very confident, but I'm also a very empathetic person. And when you're dealing with people of that nature, they will prey on those people that are empathetic, that are warm, that they feel can help them, and how they feel they can take advantage. Because if you're soft or kind, it's almost seen as a weakness that they want to exploit.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
It's this power, isn't it? At the end of the day, they're trying to get power over you, and they see you as weak. And I guess the more you sort of brush it away or ignore what's happening, or sort of put it to one side, the more power they get from it, and it just builds and builds and builds, you know. And it's, well, I'm pleased that you've managed to firstly get out of that situation and moved on, and, you know, thank you for talking about it. I think, you know, I don't think there's enough people talking about this, like you say, and domestic violent abuse, that there is a lot of, you know, talk about that, but maybe this needs to be even more so. And you know, the police have sort of come in. You know, there's new stalking offences and harassment offences, but it becomes quite difficult for them to be able to prosecute people, because it's normally he says something, she says something different, and there's, like you said, there's never any evidence really.
No physical evidence. There's nothing physical. It's all mental.
Yeah.
But the other thing I would say is, going back to what you said about laws, there's also something called Clare's Law, which I ended up taking advantage of, which is, I need to read it off my book, Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme. So if you feel that you're at risk, or that your partner has a history of domestic violence, you can fill in an online form or go to your local police station and ask for a disclosure. Obviously, it's not criminal records, but it's anything where they will tell you anything that they think is relevant to your personal safety.
That's really good, because, like you say, it's, especially starting a new relationship or any relationship, it's important to sort of be able to go in with your eyes open, because something can look, you know, too good to be true a lot of times. And I think, especially now we're in the world we sort of live in, everyone sort of sees what they see on social media and how someone is presented. And yeah, that's really important. That's really important. And I think, you know, it's good to do that. I'm going to go back to Beto in a minute, but while we're here, I'm just going to say hello to a few people in the chat. We've got lots of great people in here at the moment. We've got Double P, we've got Sideshow, Mark Lancaster. We've got Stay Cruising, Miss Normita, Funky Flavors, lots of support. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Air Adam, we've got there. I think that's most people. Sweet Tooth just popped in. Right, we're going to move back to Beto. One of the things that, you know, again, when we were chatting sort of before, and quite a few cool voice notes back and forth. I didn't really do voice notes until I think Sam Twig sent me a voice note, and I suddenly realised. And then Karen, I know you use them quite a lot, and then we've talked about the show today through voice notes, which is quite a good way of doing it.
She has me on it too. She's got me doing it the same.
Yeah. it's it's
easy.
yeah, I like it. It's quicker, but it's sometimes you have to listen to it again to see what was actually in there. One of the things you said, Beto, is that you talked a little bit about when you got divorced, and you said that one of the issues was that back then your ex-wife wasn't particularly open-minded about music, and you ended up, I think, having to get rid of your decks and
yeah. So she just she was just to be honest, man, we were just different people. We were just different people. And that's just being clear. We were just different people. We probably shouldn't have gotten married to start with. But yeah, she wasn't supportive about it or anything like that. Um, so um, yeah, and at the same time, like I said, a recession had hit in Florida, so I didn't have a job for 9 months, and they're just sitting there. You know what I mean? I'm not making no money with them. I'm not DJing nowhere. I'm not making the mixtapes or anything. Because I just just did what I did, man.
I mean, how did that affect you mentally? Obviously, being music is such a big part of all of our lives. And was she just not into music, or was she not into the music you were into, or?
Man, no, she liked music. She didn't. It just wasn't we just didn't share the same passion.
It wasn't the passion that we've all got, effectively.
Nah, not at all. Like, I don't want to say she's not into music, because she loves music, and it's just she didn't have the passion for it. She wanted to keep it as, I guess you could say, as entertainment. She wanted to stay as like the customer, just always listening to music.
Okay.
So spending money on gear, but continuously buying things, it was just something that always sparked up an argument. So and at the same time, I let myself be taken out of the realms. I started, I took myself away from people around the same kind of people. I wasn't around anybody that knew anything about jungle music, about playing records. I have like two friends here in Tampa that I've been friends with for maybe about 6-7 years, that don't know 5% of like who I am. And the only problem about that is my trade is, I'm an electrician. I'm a commercial electrician. I work in service. I've been in service for like 7 years. And so I always have people calling me, "Hey, I want to do this in my house. I want to do this in my house." And I'm like, man, I just want to hang out. Like, I just want to, I just want to hang out. They're like, "Oh, but I'll pay you." I'm like, man, that's cool, but can we just hang out? I just want to hang out. And it's, I'm a little different, man. I'm just a little different. There's other things that are more important to me, and it makes me very different from people. Like, I don't mean this negative towards anybody, but I'm not dollar driven. I'm not driven by the dollar. I like time. I appreciate time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, anyways, we I wasn't around, like I said, I just wasn't around people that was like minded. And after I got divorced, my father passed away. My father's been passed away for 6 years, and it was so different, man. Like, I went through so many changes. I was in denial the whole time. My father was in Oklahoma. I was in Tampa. Um, my dad was a cigarette smoker. My dad smoked cigarettes for over 50 years, and so he had emphysema and COPD, and uh, this past February was 14 years for me, because this past February, 14 years ago, we put my father in the hospital for his emphysema, and that's when everything started kicking in like warp speed for him as far as emphysema. Yeah. So anyway, so whenever I was late to saying goodbye to my dad, I was like an hour late. I was in denial, man. Like for like 2 days, my whole family's calling me like, "Yo, you better be on the next thing smoking. Like, you get your ass here. Like, you got to get here." And I was like, man, I was in denial. I was going through a divorce. All I could think about is I got to work, because I'm living on my own, or I'm fixing to get my own place. I have no family in Florida. I was staying with a friend of a friend, and this was like my second place I was staying with. So I was like couch surfing for like about a year, because I have no family here. I met someone down here, and I thought she was going to be the one, and she turned out not to be the one. So, after my father passed away, man, I just, for some reason, man, it just felt right, man. I just started listening to Clapton. I just started listening, and then I just started listening to Zeppelin really, really hard, man. And I was listening to Jeff Beck really hard, and I was digging into Cream and digging into the Yardbirds and like really getting into like who they were as individuals. And I really cut myself off. Like I had an Instagram, and I had an Instagram, I had a Facebook, I had Twitter, I had Snapchat, and I cut it all off. So I was like, man, I need time to myself.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, my marriage, my ex-wife, we was married for 8 years, 6 years. She cheated on me. And I had like 2 guys come forth to me and say, yeah, like I was, sleeping with your wife. And I got a little bit of respect for them because they manned up and they came to me like a man. So, anyways, like I said, man, I just started listening to that. I started listening to that stuff, and at the same time, I'm still listening to Mr. Thing. At the same time, I was learning. I think whenever I was around 2010 is whenever I heard about this party called the Do Over in Hollywood, and the Do Over was on Sundays at a restaurant in Hollywood, and they would have big DJs from like A-Track to Jazzy Jeff to like super old school people like DJ Quick, whoever, man, and the Cosmo Baker, and everyone was like, man, that's the whole thing there is to play old school, and everybody's just rocking old school, playing the same stuff that we're all playing on 45s right now. And that's whenever I started, just digging more into like soul, funk, and just you start more researching more. And then I got with I met a girl. Her name's Melissa. She's my fiance. We've been together for 5 years, and the thing we started off like so strong, and we still are a very strong unit. But her and I have a lot in common because we have no family in Florida, so all we have is each other and our two. We each have a daughter. That's it. So we make the best of everything. Like, bro, she goes digging with me. She'll go digging. She loves it. And
Right.
I love it. I love it, man, because like she'll go in one section, I'll go in one section, and we'll meet in the middle. And man, she picks great stuff, man. Like she loves like one of the first big records I bought for her was a Buckingham Nicks record because she loves Stevie Nicks and she loves Lindsey Buckingham. I was like, and I seen the Buckingham Nicks records. So I was like, man, I gotta get that for her. But so yeah, man, that's where I'm at, and she is so supportive. I've never been with someone that is so supportive as what I do as a DJ and or not even that, man, just as a record collector. Cause man, there's times we don't have the same work schedule. She works in retail. She's a manager at Macy's. So we don't work the same schedule. So when we are home together, man, we'll just put on records and just chill, man, talk about our day, listen to records, random stuff, and she'll pull stuff and put stuff on. And I love it, man, because if we're going to be in a relationship, she has to be comfortable with this because, this just isn't for me. This is for my whole household. It's like now, like I have a 13-year-old. She's just now learning how to play records. And
Brilliant.
she's to the point now to where she's pulling out records like all on her own, like no help. She's like, Daddy, I don't want no help. I was like, cool.
You gotta watch out. You gotta watch out though, because
gotta watch them needles, right?
Well, no, not the needles. He's gonna take you. she's going to take over your records. We did the third episode of 45 Kids on Saturday morning, and my daughter is 7. I think she's done a few slots now, and we've got Double P, Minimal P, and we had Evie Wonder. But today, Zia Sideshow Mall emailed me and said, would Zia ZZ45 like to do a set on the Zambra thing? And I'm thinking, she's 7 and she's now suddenly getting a booking on Twitch to play. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, of course, it's great, but it's brilliant. Handing it down to the kids, it's so important. Music is such a big part of all of our lives, and I think it's great that we can pass this down. And it's the bond, like you were saying about listening to the music that your father was trying to get you to listen to when you were younger. It's so important, I think, and it's such a big part of our lives.
I agree with you, and at the same time, something that it just tickles me about my daughter when it comes to just music in general. Even before her coming over here trying to play a record, I was still playing like Sgt. Pepper's, Sgt. Pepper, Lonely Hearts Club Band. So my daughter knows about the Beatles. My daughter knows. Dude, my daughter knows who Cal Jada is. Man, she's probably the only 13-year-old at her school who knows who Cal Jada is. And I love it. But at the same time, like, both of you guys can meet my child as a complete stranger and she can describe me to the T. That's because of the relationship we have. I'm very open with her. And I think we have to be, due to the fact that she lives with her mom primarily, and she comes over to see me every other weekend. And that was a struggle too, man. Cause like when I first left, like I said, I was staying with a friend of a friend. So I had nowhere for her to stay. So when I first left the house, I'd get to see my daughter for like 2 or 3 hours, like every other weekend, like at the mall. That was terrible, man. That was garbage.
Yeah.
And even when I got my own place, it took probably 2 years to get her to stay the night with me. It took me getting in a relationship with Melissa because she had her daughter. If it wasn't for Melissa and her daughter, I don't know how long it would have took to get my daughter to want to stay with me, man, because I'm the guy that left the house, so I'm looked at as the bad guy.
Right.
And, how I found out what was going on at my household, I come home from work one day and my house key is not on my keychain no more. And this was on a Friday, and I look at the bank account. The only thing that's in there is the paycheck that my job just deposited. So the bank account was cleaned out. I had no house key. I was like, I guess something's going on here. So yeah, it took some time, man, but I appreciate, what I have from her, something else is, I own a guitar. I don't play it that much. I don't want to, I'm trying to be clear, but I do own a guitar. And whenever I got my guitar, my daughter was like, oh, I want one too. So I got her a guitar. So we both have guitars. I have an electric. She has an acoustic. And, but I just, like I said, man, I know in the United States, there's a lot of influences, and I'm sure there are elsewhere. I know there's a lot of influences all around. And, I think it's very important that I have this relationship with her. That way, she can come to me whenever she wants to, about anything. Like she just came to me about something a couple weeks ago that, oh man, I mean, it was heavy, dude. It was like probably the most heaviest thing that I've ever had to carry, that she's brought to me. But you know what? It helped me submit to another level. Like I automatically knew when she came to me with this issue, I was like, yeah, my way is not going to work here. Like I knew I had to submit, and I did, and it just helps us grow stronger. That's it.
Well, it's all about building the bonds, isn't it? And
yeah,
and obviously being able to talk about what's happening in your life, hopefully will open up for her to talk to you. And that's talking. It's so important. It's underrated, isn't it? And again, I'm thankful to you too. I'm thankful to everyone who's been on the show. The fact that people come on the show and open up and talk about what's going on in their lives and what's been going on, because you know, even if one person listening to this gets some help, it's you know, it's worth doing.
And at the same time, you know, on other levels, you know, like for my daughter, I got to be clear with you, man. Like, I don't know if it was me or if it was Inchhigh and Staying Cruising. Like, I don't know who it was that got it. Between the three of us, that's who got my daughter on the turntables. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it was me or her watching Inchhigh play or her watching Staying Cruising play, but she was like automatically hooked because she seen the interaction that I had with the two women here. And, you know, I love them to death. You know, I think they're great people. You know, Karen and I have such a strong bond, you know, and kind of sucks that it's came from a COVID, you know, a COVID lockdown, but you know, it is what it is. You know, same thing with Staying Cruising. Kind of sucks that it come from a COVID lockdown, but it is what it is, you know. But they are big inspirations to my child, you know. And it's like I was joking with them the other day. I was like, I can't wait for my ex-wife to say, "Who's Inchhigh? Who's Staying Cruising?" Because my daughter she just talks and talks and talks about these girls like they're just the best thing since butter on bread.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to Karen now. I'm gonna bring you in. Let's talk a little bit about this, because obviously one of the things I mentioned in sort of the show is about lockdown and how to, and interestingly, I think the same with me. Both of you would like, well, actually, you know, we've done quite well. We've thrived in lockdown. You know, it hasn't, you know, yes, there's, you know, we can't forget how many people have died, how many people have lost people, and you know, it's been a tragedy, you know, complete tragedy. But you know, it's trying to come out something positive. I think definitely a lot has come out of this. So, you know, what would you say about Karen? You know, what's been the positive things of lockdown? You know, I think one of your voice notes said, you know, you'd be happy to indefinitely go on in lockdown. I don't know if that's if you mean that, but you know, how have you got on over the last year or so?
Honestly, like my voice note said, I haven't struggled emotionally or otherwise with lockdown. I'm a type of person, I can be extremely sociable, or I'm happy enough on my own. I'm really comfortable. Like, I'm lucky. I know not everyone's that way, but I'm really lucky in that I can be an extremely sociable person, or I can be happy on my own and just do little bits and bobs and just suit myself. So lockdown per se has not been a real hardship for me, and the positives that have come out of it. I mean, this huge online community that we have that's been so supportive. I wouldn't know better, like he mentioned, if it hadn't been for COVID and us having to find other ways to really interact with each other. So us going on Twitch, I met Beto through Twitch, and I think it was actually the Cruise Twitch channel, wasn't it, Beto, that we started talking on? And then we've now got this.
You said something about jungle in the chat, and I was like, "Hey, that's me. That's me. I'm here for that."
Yeah. So like, I've gained an uncle, Beto. I've got this huge extended family, and we're just so close and tight, and none of us have physically met, but we still have such a great bond, and it's been amazing. It's been absolute. Sorry, my Alexa's gonna go off. Sorry.
CBD oil.
Sorry.
What's it picking up? Is it because you said Alexa?
Yeah, my Alexa's giving me a reminder. My memory's really bad, so I have reminders for everything on Alexa. But yeah, just really the huge musical community, and I've still managed to keep up with friends. All right, it's been through Zoom and stuff like that, but you know, we've just made the best of a really poor situation, and I think we actually discussed on the voice notes the fact that I feel a little bit more anxious about coming out of lockdown and having to start seeing people again. And yeah, it's just weird. It's almost like the opposite for me that the majority of people are feeling, and I completely, I do empathise and I feel that. But I just consider myself blessed and fortunate that I've been able to come through it okay.
Well, it's true, and I think Sucker Punch 45's Phil, who's coming on the show. I can't remember the date, but he's coming on late. But again, he's saying he's actually anxious about heading out again. And I think I said it on the show a little while ago. I mean, certainly in terms of DJing, I think once in the UK, well, everything seems to be heading in the right direction at the moment. It's going to be very strange being back in a pub trying to DJ to a lot of very drunk people. It's just.
Gonna have to deal with idiots again. At least here you can block someone or something. You don't have to talk.
But you don't get many idiots. It's interesting, isn't it? Because most of the chat and most of the community, they're there because they like you, or they like your channel, they like your music. And at the end of the day, if they don't like you, they go to another channel. So it's it's really interesting how it sort of filters down into people. So if you're DJing in a bar, there might be, say, a table or a couple of tables that are really into what you're doing, but then the rest of the bar are just not really, they're just sort of there. It's just sort of background. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And yeah, Sideshow says can't block people in real life, sadly. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, hold on, Michael Hanapino.
Yeah, that's the thing. I absolutely think you can. And one of the things that I'm coming out of my experience that I had is that I'm really now very aware of what I will and won't tolerate in my life, and the energies and the vibrations that I get from people, and my gut feeling. Like, your gut feeling is there for a reason. And I don't think I used it enough. And I would say to everyone, like listen to your gut feeling, because it's there and it's telling you something. So absolutely, I think all of those things I'm going to take out of lockdown and apply them to real life situations now. And I'm just not going to expose myself to negativity, bad vibes, or anything like that. It's for me, I can control that, and I will control that.
And again, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, certainly my experience over the last year is that everyone I've come into contact with through 45 Gigs, the 45 Day, Twitch, it's everyone's there, everyone good vibes. We're all there to help each other. Everyone's there to share. And I think the biggest thing that comes across is obviously, you're in a channel and everyone's saying, right, go and follow this person, go and show them some love, you don't
post, follow, share.
Yeah, you don't really get that in real life. Right? There seems to be a lot of, maybe it'll be different when we start again. I don't know. We hope, whether this is a great reset and people will start acting differently. It may be for a short period of time, but I'm sure people will fall back into sort of old traits and all the rest of it. But how great would it be if when we go back out, everyone's like, this is brilliant. We're all going, oh, you're great. Go and watch this gig, or go to this. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how it goes on. All right.
Absolutely will.
Beto, I'm going to come back to you, because a few people have talked in the chat about being anxious about going back out again, and I think in some of the notes we were saying is you mentioned that you suffered from anxiety a little bit over the time. How does that sort of manifest itself, and how do you deal with it, and have you got any advice for anyone about dealing with it?
Man, I mean, I think there's ways that we, first off, I think there's ways that we self-inflict anxiety, and it's something I was talking about with a good friend of mine, Merrick Brown, the other day. Merrick Brown is someone who streams on Twitch, and we've been friends since the 90s. He's a DJ from Texas that I've known about for, and we've been friends for years, and now he's married to a great friend of mine. So we was talking the other day about how Twitch has really kind of kept us on our toes as far as like planning all these different mixes for this stream, our stream, this raid, that raid, and versus just going to a club or a gig or a party and DJing. So I think, with all of the excitement, with all of the staying on Twitter or staying on Instagram, staying on Twitch 24/7, for me has created some bit of anxiety. So I think it's good to unplug sometimes just from, I mean, everything. So and it's for yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's for no one else. I mean, you're just trying to take time out for yourself. Um, and at the same time, man, there's so many things that you could, find out there to supplement that time, as far as whatever it has to be, um, so it's all about, just trying to stay calm, something that I tell myself every single day whenever I think I'm having a bad day. And this is a fact, and I don't care who you are, everybody can say this. If you're having a bad day, like, man, it is so easy to sit here and take 2 seconds and think, yo, someone else has it worse than me today. Because that's a fact. That's a
Yeah.
fact. It can't get no realer than that someone has it worse than you today. So, and at the same time, man, when you take that 2 seconds, man, it gives you that time to sit back and reflect. Um, I used to have this, or I have this friend in Oklahoma. She's a yoga instructor, and she is somewhat, she does like the whole hot yoga, the real intense yoga classes. And whenever I attended her classes in the past, it was just super intense, man. Like, you live there just sweating your butt off, it's just super intense. And she told me, she was like, you got to get your breathing under control. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? She's like, you got to get your breathing under control. And she's like, when you learn to breathe, then you will be a lot more calmer in general. She said, think about it. Look at it like this. And here's another fact for you. Let's say either one of us or anybody, is walking down the street by ourselves down a dark street at night. If a complete stranger walks up to us with a gun, what is almost every single human being's first natural reaction? They're going to do this. Now you just sucked in a lot of breath. You don't know what's going on. You're panicking. He possibly has a gun. If you stay calm and stay chilled out, you may be able to buy yourself 5 seconds, and that 5 seconds may be a game changer for you. Who knows, but just trying to get your breathing down and staying calm, and at the same time, man, I think it's really good to go back to keep, like right now, I think it's really good, and to continue. I think it's really good to go back to key elements from whenever we were adolescents and children, like reading a book, not reading something online, reading
Yeah.
a hard book or something. Because it we have to keep our imagination thriving. We have to keep our mind thriving. And that's how we control anxiety. Different ways of control versus being strung out on drugs. Or, like, I'll be honest, I live in Florida, and marijuana is medical here. I'm a medical patient, and that's another way that helps me with my anxiety and my stress levels, because anxiety can be a killer, man. I was seeing someone talk about not getting no rest. Like, man, I've had times where I wasn't resting at all, man, because my mind was just running too fast. I had so many questions on my mind. I was trying to answer this or trying to answer that, and I couldn't get no answers or whatever. So, um, yeah, man, I think it's just good to just take a step back, and reflect, and at the same time, I think we can all start to understand why the old people older than us, why they take that time out to go maybe sit on the porch and just chill out, drink a cup of tea, just relax, talk about your day, slow things down for a bit, because
Yeah.
God knows that the rest of the world is pushing us in a very fast pace already, and sometimes it's up to us, it's, we create our own destinies out here, we and at the same time we make the mistakes. Like, if I make a mistake, it's my mistake. If I do something good, I did it. So we have to know that, so you just got to take some time out for yourself, and just remember, it's for yourself. you know, for you, no one else. It's for yourself. So
it's really interesting what you're saying, and I totally agree. I mean, obviously last week, the 45 day was crazy, and then there was a bit of a come down after it, and then Sunday yesterday, I think I went out with my wife and daughter, and we just went for a walk, and I literally didn't try to not touch my phone at all, and it was such a nice break to then come back, because I think, like you say, it goes back to being adolescents. You know, we're all old enough to remember before the internet, you know, before mobile phones, before, you know, anything like that, you know, and that you know, your entertainment was whatever happened to be on the TV or whatever music you could listen to, and it is almost like you say, reading a book, going back to that simpler life. You know, the lives we lead at the moment are crazy busy, you know, and there's always something going on, always a notification, always check this, check that. So yeah, I think what you're saying is really important, and I think, you know, it's really good advice.
I'll tell you something that I seen like before lockdown. In 2019 is whenever I got engaged to my fiance, and I took her out to Seattle, Washington. We spent a week out in the Seattle area, and we stayed at a place called Orcas Island, and it's in the San Juan Islands. It's out by Victoria, Canada. Dude, it's way out, but it's like, man, it's one of them places you just get off when you got to take a ferry to get there. But when you get off the ferry, you're like, man, do humans know about this place? Like, this place is secluded. But one thing that we saw on there, but we did, it was just mind blowing. We saw a family, you know, and this is a ferry that you drive your vehicle on, and you know, that type of ferry. But we seen a family sitting there with like 3 children, all within probably the ages of 6 to 10 years old. And they were playing with toys, like no phones, no digital thing, like toys. I was like, wow, that is cool. Like, they're sitting here playing with cowboys and Indians and Barbie dolls. I was like, wow, this is cool. I didn't disturb it. I was like, just sit there and watch it. It's beautiful.
I find the beach is always very calming as well, because I mean, I live on the south coast in the UK, and yeah, when I go down there with my daughter, you know, it's just amazing. It just has some amazing power. It's just the sound and the waves and there's just openness that just really calms everything down. And it's and the
really smell, cool. Criztoz, the fresh air and the smell of smells as well. It's everything. It's like, it's totally sensory, isn't it?
Well, it's better than being stuck in your studio. You know, we all love it. We all love DJing on Twitch, but it certainly smells better when we're outside on the beach. Right, we're going to do a couple of bits, and then we'll move on to that. Karen, tell us a little bit about Twitch. You know, how have you found it? You know, from when you started off, first of all, to where you've got to now. You know, was it a real struggle getting going, or did you have technical issues? Did you overcome those, and how did you sort of find your place on Twitch?
It was through the Wax Nerds crew was my sort of into Twitch, because Mark and co set up the Wax Nerds Thursday Throwdown. So that was kind of my inclusion into Twitch, if you like. And yeah, in the beginning, it was technically a bloody nightmare, I have to say. Like, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, and I work in technology, by the way. Like, I'm not a technophobe, but it was just so different. I'd never really done online streaming or anything. So, but I must say, once I got set up, it was pretty plain sailing. And you know, you have to do a lot of that networking. And I did end up spending a lot of time on Twitch because I live on my own. And at that time I was single. It was me and the dog on listening to people's sets on Twitch. You know, that's what I'd done for months on it. So in that way, it was good because I built up the network quite quickly. But then I realised that I wanted to do, like, I didn't want to be on Twitch all the time. It got too consuming, like what you guys were talking about. I wanted to step away a bit. So now I stream now and again. For me personally, I don't want to make it an every week thing. But I love it. But yeah. because I like to do a lot of preparation for my sets, and I'm teaching myself how to mix and all of that. Like, I want to spend time doing other things now, but the journey's been great. You know, I can't really say there's been any negatives. I've enjoyed it, but I just feel like, for me personally now, I don't want to spend as much time on Twitch. I've got a wonderful partner, Kato Fong. He's in the chat, and I like to spend time with him. And yeah, but at the same time, I really enjoy the streams that I do, and the raid trains and the interaction. So I'm never going to knock it, because I do think it's probably been a bit of a lifesaver when, you know, when I was here on my own and single at the time. It was really good to have some people interaction, because it was just me. So yeah, it's been great, actually.
Yeah, because, you know, we talked about lockdown already, but obviously we've, you know, some of us been able to see our friends and some haven't, and obviously with Zoom and all the rest of it. But it's very different. I think I've likened it a little bit in the past to sort of going into a pub. You know someone's going to be there, and it's the same. You go into a chat room, you go into a channel, you know your friends are going to be there, and these are all friends that we've met, and it's amazing community. And I think it is there. You know, whether it's hit its peak and it's going to sort of slow down a bit, I don't know. And obviously, as things sort of open up around the world, whether there'll be less people DJing, I don't know. But I think it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be part of our lives, which is great. Right, we're going to move on and actually talk about some 45s. So Mark Lancaster, who was a guest a little while ago, but I think it was at the first show, he came up with this great question, which I think is brilliant. You know, what 45s lift your spirits? And while we're doing this section, if anyone has got any questions, then pop them in the chat, and then we can try and come to them. But yeah, so let's start with Beto first. So I think I've asked you to pick up maybe 3 45s that you've got that lift your spirits. What have you got? What have you chosen? I know it's only 3. Well, I'm sure there's plenty more.
No, I chose 3. Well, first off, Christoph, something I got to tell you is probably about 40% of my collection belong to my father.
Okay.
So first one, I heard him play this like all the time. Aretha Franklin, Spanish Harlem.
Oh yeah.
It was my dad. You know, he played this growing up, and it still sounds crisp and clear. And like I said, my dad was a smoker. I grew up in a smoke-infested house, and it sounds clear. It just sounds so clear. And that's
the actual record. Would he have bought it from you, do you think?
Excuse me?
Would he have bought? Is that the actual record he owned?
Yes, this was my father's. Yeah,
would he bought it from brand new, do you think, when it was released? Or
oh yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to. We had. I'm trying to remember the name of the music store, because when the 90s hit, it was all about CDs in America. It was all about CDs. So like going to like an FYI or Sound Exchange, that it was all CDs. So whenever my dad he obviously bought this before I was born, you know, because this came out before then. But yeah, he bought this new, and he bought this. It still has the price tag on it too. He bought it from Target. He paid 99 cents. 99 cents. Spanish Harlem, OG copy, 99 cents. Can't beat it, right? So
that's a great tune.
Second one is actually, man, this one is one that I found out from Twitch. Like I had it, and I didn't know what I had until I met some Brazilians, and it's crazy that I'm actually talking about this one. It's by an artist that just passed away this past Friday in Brazil. His name's Casino.
Right.
Big funk soul artist from the 60s and 70s. But the name of the track is called Onda. And
yeah.
My good friend Alcides Fortunato, when I played it, he was like, "Yo, do you know what you got there?" I was like, "Oh shit, no, I don't." And he told me the whole history about Casino. And then he started giving me so much more music to listen to from Casino. I was like, "Oh man, that's a classic." And anytime I play online and I play with Brazilians, dude, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. They're all it gets them, you know, it gets everybody hyped. It's a good sounding track, you know, and it I love it, man. It's such a great song.
And that's from the box set, isn't it? The
It is.
yeah, that's a great box set. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out last year on Record Store Day.
That's right. Yeah, I've played it quite a lot. But I mean, there's so many good Brazilian DJs on Twitch. DJ Bill is, you know, I love DJ Bill, and I love Brazilian music, so it's perfect, you know. But
I joke with Bill all the time. I'm like, dude, I want your records.
It's just endless. Just endless.
It is, man.
It's amazing how much his stuff he's got.
It is. The last one I picked, one of my good friends from Oklahoma put me on. It's an artist by the name of Pigbag. I don't know if you've ever heard of Pigbag.
I think I have, but I don't know that. I don't know that one.
Pigbag is.
I might be thinking of something else.
To compare, it's kind of like canned vitamin C. It's kind of, you know, it's just it's kind of like some psychedelic disco funk from like the 60s or the 70s. Excuse me, the 70s. This is around 128 BPMs, and like, dude, like this makes b-boys and b-girls just go crazy, man. Like anything Pigbag, it's just like bananas, man. Because like it's kind of like Apache sped up, you know, just bongos, congos, you know, just crazy drums, man. And it's just, man, it's a jammer, man. Anything Pigbag, it jams.
I don't know if we're quite. I mean, I think I'm definitely going to go and check that out, but I'm not sure we're quite on Wax on Wednesdays, where there's going to be a mad Discogs rush on it. So there's probably going to be a few copies available that we can pick up later, which will be should be good.
You'll know it, Criztoz.
I'm sure I will once I hear it. It's just, yeah, you know what it's like. Right, okay, Karen, your go.
What? God, do you know? I know we spoke about this before we went live. How difficult! How bloody difficult is it? Because
my guests.
For me, music makes me happy. Like,
yeah,
honestly, like there isn't a tune where I sit here and go, oh. But if I play music, I've got a smile and I'm happy.
Yeah.
And it's just my happy place. So it was so difficult. And, you know, I could have spent so much time on this. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go with the ones that popped into my head.
Yeah.
So the first one is Joe Smooth, Promised Land.
Okay.
Anything that makes me want to put my hands in the air, anything that makes me, I'm such a, what's the word? Someone that always likes to look back and have nice memories. And so this tune gives me some really nice, warm, fuzzy memories of great nights out as a teenager at different parties and raves and things like that. So, yeah, I just love this record, Promised Land.
It's amazing music does that, isn't it? You know, it's in your brain, especially if you've heard it before and you've got really good memories. It immediately takes you back to it. And I think we were discussing it maybe last time about I think it's dementia patients, you know, being or Parkinson's patients listening to music and it having such an effect because it just brings back memories and for that brief few moments, you know, it just takes them back and they're sort of overcome what they're going through. But yeah, I mean, music is unbelievable, you know. It's crazy.
It evokes so many emotions, you know, and like I said, I've got a terrible memory, but I can listen to a track and remember something that happened in 1989.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
That does not work. So yeah, nuts. So my second one, I love a bit of disco and I love Sylvester. So this will make me feel, you make me feel. And I love this. Again, it's about positive vibes, the energy. Disco as a genre for me, I just love it. I love the high energy. I love the clothes. I love the look, the scene, how it was at the time. Obviously, I wasn't there, but I've watched a lot of things on TV and it's just such a happy music, isn't it, disco? Have you ever heard a sad disco track?
Well, no, because I think it's just the times, wasn't it? You know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of not so happy things happened back in the 70s, but obviously the music seemed to reflect the good times, didn't it, back then?
Yeah, absolutely. It's how, you know, it's very party vibes, and yeah, I don't know. I just really love disco music because for me, it kind of resonates. I tend to be quite an upbeat, energetic person, and that's what disco music is. So
great. And what have you got there? I think
the next one, I was torn between this and another one, but the way I chose between them was just to put them on and see how I felt,
okay.
how emotive it made me when I listened to both tunes. So this is Aftershock, Slave to the Vibe.
Okay. I probably have heard that.
Huh?
I'm trying to think. I probably have heard that at some point. I can't.
Absolutely would have. Yeah. And again, it's the energy, it's the vibe, it's the positiveness, it's the era, it's the memories, just all of that stuff, and what it evokes for me. And when I put this on earlier, trying to choose between the final third, I was like, it's got to be this one. Like, there's just so much nice energy to that track.
What was the one that didn't make the cut? What was the other one?
It was actually a Rare Groove track. It was Sylvia Striplin.
Okay.
Because, and again, it's for me. I'm just such a nostalgic old fool, and I always seem to just relate things to memories, and so not necessarily specifically Sylvia Striplin, but the whole Rare Groove scene. When I was going to house parties, I was going with a lot of an older crowd, and like Rare Groove was played all the time at those house parties. And again, it's just evokes lovely memories. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily about Sylvia Striplin. It was just that genre, Rare Groove and the two-step for me is lovely.
Like you say, it's difficult to choose, isn't it? I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, I do this each time, so coming up with 3 each time is well, not difficult, but I think this. I mean, one of the tracks I've loved most recently. It's a really old track, but Mr Thing played it on Wednesdays on Wax, which is a Julie Driscoll version of "Light My Fire." I mean, "Light My Fire" is one of my favourite all-time The Doors tracks, but I mean, this is just an unbelievable version, and I think like most 45, I think it's most 45s DJ. We love a good cover version, and that's just amazing, and it's still quite reasonable. And then probably my next one, Arrested Development, was one of my favorite hip hop bands, and so this Mr Wendell, obviously on the A side, I played the Revolution, which is the double A side on my 45 day mix, and yeah, listening to that again after probably the first time I've listened to the B side or the double A side for a long time. Like you say, it just brings back memories. And then the last one is much more recent, but it's, you know, this guy's killing it at the moment. Is the Soul Supreme, the Raid. I think I probably can't see it. Quite a lot of people have probably got that, but it's just an amazing homage to MF Doom. You know, it's so good, and you know, it's really sad that we lost him last year. You know, such a creative genius. It's really sad. Right. I think we just got one more bit. Karen, I don't know if you managed to get any confectionery or not.
I did. Of course I did. I have confectionery in the house all the time.
All right, I'm going to go to you first then, and then because I'm really excited to see what both of you have got. But obviously, having a very sweet tooth like I do, I'm interested to see what Beto's got from the US, because I'm sure it's stuff we haven't got here. And I'm not sure we're going to quite have the lively debate we had last time about the violent crumble and the crunchy fiasco we had last time. But Beto, I don't know if you I don't know if you saw the last show, but we had Mr Lob on, and he brought on a thing called Violent Crumble, which is chocolate covered honeycomb, and in the UK we call it crunchy. So yeah, that was and me and my daughter did a taste test in the end because we managed to get some here in the UK, and I think the decision was that the chocolate was better on the Cadbury's one, the UK one, but the honeycomb was better on the Australian one. So violet's not violent. Yeah, it's not violent. Anyway, right, okay, Karen. What have you got to show us?
I've got 3 things,
Okay.
if I may.
Of course, go for it.
So my favourite chocolate, you know, I said I'm a nostalgic fool.
Yeah, what have you got?
Every year at Easter, I hope they're going to bring an egg out, and they never do.
Oh, Caramac, yeah.
Oh my God, it's like my favourite chocolate in the world.
A Caramac egg would be quite amazing. I think you're right.
See?
Oh, yeah. Maybe you should write to them. Is that Nestle? Is it Nestle that make Caramac?
It is Nestle, yes. I've even thought about making my own one. So like melting down 20 bars and just getting an egg case and doing it. But it's too much hassle. I can just open the packet and eat it.
I saw some guy make a on YouTube. I think it was like a massive Snickers, and he went through how he did it, and it was just ridiculous. But it looked amazing. So it was this massive Snickers that he sort of cut into slices. All right, that was a good choice. What else you got?
So the other thing I had, it's not a chocolate, but do you remember these fish and chips?
Yes. Are they the sweet, the crisps or the sweets?
Yeah,
Crisps.
no, they're crisps. So they're like, well, not crisps. They're like biscuity crisps, aren't they? Like salt and vinegar flavour.
I had some literally last week from, I got them in B&M or somewhere. Yeah,
that's where I get mine from.
Yeah. Don't tell everyone. That's where the violet crumble is from.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I saw it in there. But oh my God, I love these. I absolutely love them. And you know when you eat something and your taste buds go.
Yeah.
Your face doesn't necessarily go like that, but my taste buds definitely do that when I eat fish and chips. So that was
nostalgia again, isn't it? Going back to your youth.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. I'm just a nostalgic old fool. I'm really sorry. My last one, and I don't think these are old. These are new school sweets, but bloody hell, I can literally open the packet and just they're gone in 60 seconds.
Oh, giant straws, yeah. The only
it's
thing
so moorish.
Stuck in your teeth, though. That's the only annoying thing about those ones. They are, yeah.
But they are moorish. Once they're opened, I mean, you can just forget it and don't even think about asking for one.
No. Up there with Scampi fries, I think Poundland were doing like a 6-pack. I think it was 3 Scampi fries and 3 bacon rashers, which is good. Right, Beto, let's move to you.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to this. What have you got?
I got to do it 2 ways, okay? Because, I mean, this is very common in the United States, and plus living in like the South or the West part of the country. So first off, I love these as a kid. And plus, Karen sent me a picture the other day. She took a picture. She was in the convenience store. So I was like, man, show me what you got. And I didn't see this. These are Rolos.
Rolos, yeah. Classic.
I love these growing up
with
caramel on the inside. I love caramel. So I got a pack of Rolos. So I was like, oh, man, might as well get some Rolos.
They're quite a British thing, though, aren't they, Rolos? Are they British? Am I thinking it wrong?
I'm not sure. That's a very good question.
I don't know if someone in the chat knows, but I know we've always had them here.
Not Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Ah,
Hershey, Pennsylvania.
We've been conned all these years.
Yeah. Second would be Sugar Babies.
Oh, what are they?
It's just like a little chocolate. It's just like a milk dud kind of. It's just like a little chocolate, and it at the same time, it's something I did not see that she had. You know, I seen that she had like that there were Crunch Bars, Snickers, Kit Kats, Reese's. You know, so I'm not gonna show you that. I'm trying to show you stuff that you may not see.
I've never seen that. So they're little bits of chocolate, are they?
Yeah, it's just little bits of chocolate, man. That's it, man. It's just little pieces of chocolate, and then you could also get them on like a stick, on like a chocolate stick,
like a lollipop sort of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Tio, what's inside? Is it just solid chocolate?
Yeah, it's just milk. It's just excuse me. There's caramel on the inside as well, with these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
there's
there's a link there with the Rolos.
yeah, very similar. Okay, so now we're gonna take it down to how I did it as a kid. So I gotta show y'all some Mexican candy because like there's tons of Mexican candy growing up down south or in the west. So these are lemoncitos. This is just lemon. It's just like it's just lemon that you just open it up and just kind of suck on it. It's lemon and salt.
Lemon and salt. Okay.
Yeah.
We used to have like lemon sherbets with like a lemon boiled sweet and then sherbet inside. So lemon and salt. That sounds just without the tequila.
Without the and without the Coronas. And then this one here, this one's called mazapan. This is just peanut butter. These are just like peanut butter cookie, like little peanut butter cookies. And this is all stuff that you can get in Mexico. This is all like just straight Mexican candy.
So is that literally a roll of peanut butter?
That's it, man. That's it.
Wow.
We had talking peanut butter. We had, I think it was on when we had Mark Lancaster on the peanut butter creamy Snickers. I don't know if you've had. I assume you've got them in America, but they were so good, so good.
Last thing is like when you go to Mexico from Oklahoma, you're gonna get bum rush for chicles. As soon as you cross the border into Mexico, whether you go San Diego, Arizona, or Texas, they're gonna be like, get a chicle, get a chicle, get a chicle. They're gonna be selling, and it's just gum. That's all it is.
It looks like gum,
but it's very popular. It's very popular.
Yeah, so little packets, maybe like 5. Sort of little,
Yes.
And
it's very popular. Like I said, from Texas, Arizona, California, all the states that touch Mexico. Very, very popular.
Yeah, amazing.
I did that for Itch because she likes a little bit of Chicano culture.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Right. Before we go, has anyone got any questions in the chat? And we'll have a look, and then if not, then we'll wrap it up. But thank you both so much. Let me just get onto that other screen. No, not that one. That one. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been so interesting, informative, amazing to talk to both of you. You've both been very open and honest about what's gone on in your lives, and I think it's really helped people, and I think people have enjoyed it. I know from sort of looking in the chat, people have been following and watching it, and thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who comes on the show. Right, I think no questions, but thanks very much. I'm just going to do a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll say goodbye. So let me just get on to that. We've put it up a few times in the chat, but if obviously you would like to talk about any mental health issues, certainly in the UK, there's plenty of obviously charities in America as well, but there's a list there of charities in the UK that you can contact. Next week it's 45 Beats and Breaks, so we're back to the music. We've got DJ Bill, Butchie B, myself, and Cut Class. And then in 2 weeks' time, Part of My Journey, episode 5 comes back, and I'm talking to Fat Wax 45 and Danny Bounce. I'm looking forward to that. And then the following week is we're doing a 3-day live stream raid. Double P's organized that, and we're going around the world, and it's all in aid of raising awareness of men's mental health, part of Sunday Sevens that we do. And at the very end of that, there's a show where I've got Double P's going to come on and talk to me about the raid and everything else. Got Jim Sharp and also Sideshow Moore, who's my #1 mod. And as Sideshow said, it is Mental Health Awareness Week, so there's a link there in the chat if anyone wants to sort of go on there and needs anything. And I think the main thing that comes out of this is talking. I think it's so good to talk, and you just need to, if possible, always have someone. And like I always say, we're all here for you. And if anyone wants to chat about anything, then drop us a message. It's not a problem. Right, before we go, is there anything either of you would like to say? Anything you'd like to add? Anything I've missed?
Massive thank you to you, Criztoz, for the opportunity to share my story, because I do think it's really important to talk about these things, and like you just touched on, talking's so important. And if you don't want to speak to like a family member or a close friend, and I don't know you, like just anyone, just feel free to reach out. You know, I'm always here to give an ear. So yeah, just everyone be well, and much love to you all for taking the time out of busy schedules to listen to our stories.
Yeah, thanks. That's really good. And Beto, anything you'd like to say before we go?
Man, honestly, I want to say thank you to you, for letting me come on here. I really appreciate it. Letting me come and talk with both of y'all. And then at the same time, I just got to say thank you to everyone that I have. This is kind of an opportunity for me to say, give a blanket. I just got to say thank you to everyone that I've met out there on Twitch. Everybody has been just awesome. I'm speechless. There's no way to describe you all. So I just appreciate all y'all, man. And sorry if I'm a bug sometimes, but I really enjoy the community. So thank you for letting me be a part of y'all's community. And yes, thank you.
Well, yeah, like I said, thank you to everyone. And while I'm here, a big thank you to you guys for, you both did a mix for 45 Day and, helped make that a big success last week. And thank you to everyone else who's been part of it. And like you say, everyone we've met along the way, it's been great. Right. I'm just going to see who's live and we'll go and raid someone. But I think our man Northern Crates is live. So I think, unless anyone else has got any suggestions, but I think
there's the sunlight you guys were wanting. You see the sunlight behind
sunlight, we need it, yeah. Let me just set the raid in motion. I think I've spelt it right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I struggled to I'd had a few beers by the end of 45 Days, so I struggled to get the raid. I was trying to type DJ Sweet Tooth into my phone and I was struggling a bit, but trying to get the right name on a raid is a whole another issue. But and then when can we see you again? Karen, are you streaming anytime in the next week or two or next couple of weeks?
Beto and I are trying to organise a raid train for the end of the month, but it's still work in progress.
Okay, cool. Beto, are you on soon?
I think the next time I'm on is the 19th of this month.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's a Wednesday and it's going to be with DJ Mordecai. It's on his Wednesday show. I'm going to be on there playing Jamaican sounds, like rocksteady ska and bebop.
Nice. Yeah.
And then the Jambra Part 2 is being organized for Alcides' birthday. So I think I'm on the 20th on that day.
I think it's going on all week. I think it's like a 5-day show. Yeah, I think it's 5 days. But right.
Get some rest.
Thank you so much. I'll see you both in a minute. But to everyone else, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. See you again soon. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think it went through.
Yeah, that went through. I'm just going to end the